Hello. I just wanted to make a new video about the progress being made at TRG. As I'm sure some of you have seen by now, there's been a lot of work going on at Jagex at trying to secure old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3, just trying to secure their foothold with the game and make sure that they have control over it and make sure that it's going to be viable for the coming years, which is honestly one of the best moves they could have made at this point. Unfortunately for me, that kind of pulls my hat out of the ring. So the first blow was two big gold sellers that I was dealing with got shut down, and so now I've got all this gold and I can't put it anywhere. And then the final blow was, as I was suspecting they might start doing, they're changing languages, most likely over to C++ or some sort of language that can't be easily decompiled and injected into. So with all of that, I am saying hasta la bye-bye to all of my OSRS projects, and working towards something a little more stable, because one of my biggest problems with OSRS is the dependencies required to run that business. You rely on so many different things that are completely out of your control just to remain viable, which doesn't really make any sense at all, because at any given time, those people that you depend on will let you down, or will change languages, or shut you down, and then everything that you've done up until that point is kind of useless. You can't really use that code for anything else. So what I've been doing is I've been focusing a lot more on my archival work, and I'm going to see if I can try to show you as little as possible so that I don't have to edit out things anymore. This is full of music from a Liberation project that's not quite done yet. Right now, the media standardizer is working on the movie section, trying to shrink it, but the TV section I've been shrinking manually through Handbrake, just pulling the files down to the C drive, running it through X265, using NVENC, and putting them back manually. Ingest is mostly full of things that are going in, and of course music is music. It's static. I can't really change anything inside of this folder, aside from perhaps running Mr. Funk on it and deleting files that way. So, disk space is still a major fucking issue. I can't seem to get enough disk space, and disks are fucking expensive. I need to buy a 16 terabyte, or really anything larger than 8 terabyte, but preferably a 16, because that'll be double what I have now, so that I can upgrade my drives and keep it going. But that 16 terabyte drive is $700 pre-tax and shipping, so you might as well call it $825 at that point. And $825 when you're on a fixed income is a fuckload of money. I can't seem to find anywhere where I can find used drives for cheap. So if anybody knows of anywhere, that would help me out a lot, because I know where to get empty disk shelves for cheap, and I know where to get drive caddies for cheap, but nobody really wants to sell used drives. Sizes don't matter, because it'll all be through ZFS, so I might have maybe a 160 coupled with a terabyte, maybe some other miscellaneous drive sizes, and I'll work it out so that they get properly allocated and not just kind of have a lot of things thrown away because of the way RAID works. Anyway, some of the things I wanted to touch on is this software works now. This is AlphaRain. It was a website apparently a long time ago. I stumbled across the source code on GitHub and decided to give it a shot to see exactly how well it works. And it's working fairly well. It's been running for since about 8:39. It's 11:16 now, so a little while. It's fairly slow, but what I like about it is these are all pulled from DHT, so I can see the seeders and leechers here and the day that it was added. But what I really like is there's a file listing, so you can see exactly which files are in here, and then you can use the magnet link to select only a few of the files should you only want those. There is apparently an API to this, which is nice, but I really kind of want to modify this so that it's all compatible with TorZnab, so that I can just have my TorZnab, link my media management softwares, LIDAR, Sonar, Radar, and Lazy Librarian can all point towards this, and it will serve up TorZnab files directly to it instead of having to go through Jacket or something like that. So, sorry, I was talking a little bit about DHT. This scrapes them from DHT, which is kind of like a trackerless method of downloading torrents. So it just kind of pulls them out of thin air, sees that there's a torrent there, and then gets metadata about it, and it just sits there and does that all day. So I've configured, I think, 6 or 7 different DHT routers for it to scrape, and hopefully it gets a decent amount in. I'm probably going to rewrite the DHT scraper, and probably a lot of this software is probably going to be thrown out, because it uses this weird PM2 thing, which is like, I don't know if I should have shown that. That doesn't matter, it's on a VM. It uses this weird PM2 thing, which phones over to a different server, controlled by some third party who wants me to pay for the media management, or the management software that somebody's used with this, whatever the fuck you call this, search engine thing. I also don't need the UI, so I'm thinking about just writing my own DHT scraper in Java, making it all multi-processed so that each router has its own thread, and then just pumping that into MySQL, using MySQL full-text search instead of using Elasticsearch, and then serve that through JAX-RS as TOR-ZNAB files, and then it'll all just serve it directly to the media management softwares. So that's cool, that works. Proof of concept's kind of there, it's pulling some decent things in. The seeders are kind of an issue. There's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different torrents that actually have seeders of the 26 torrents that are in there, so that's not great. But I'm hoping that as it continues to scrape, that it will keep things up to date nicely, and so on and so forth. Mostly what this is about is I wanted to see the network traffic, because if the network traffic is too high, it's obviously not going to work. If it requires too much RAM, that's not going to work. And if there is no way to really speed this up, then that's not going to work either. It turns out all of those things are viable, so should be able to write some new software for it. What I have been working on lately is this, the Universal TRG API. So what it's going to do is it's going to pull in all the different databases. It's going to merge them all together into a compatible format for each. So if you wanted to access MusicBrainz, you can access it through me and it will serve up the same content. Or you can access my enhanced API, which basically just combines all of the different APIs together into a custom format, which you can then use in your own programs. And the idea is I'm going to rewrite all of these media management softwares into one software so that I can go and I can download, say specifically Melissa McCarthy, and if she's done audio work, it'll download that, and if she's done movies, it'll download that, and if she's done any TV shows, it'll download that as well, and so everything's kind of in a centralized location. The other thing I want to address is Plex. The way Plex works, as far as I understand, is they're doing a dynamic DNS service, where you're actually paying them for that, and for the rights to use the software. So when you log into Plex, you're expected to have a port forward on your server. That port forward is there so that their server can see that you're there and redirect people to your IP instead of their IP. So when you're logging in, you're connecting to Plex, and then Plex tells you, no, you need to go over to this server instead, and then it connects directly to me. That's great and all, but I don't really know if any traffic's going across, none of it's really open source, and since I already have all the databases anyways, and everything's being unified to one file format for each media type, it actually kind of starts to make a lot of sense to just write my own viewer. And that viewer, I'm hoping to have it be a little more peer-to-peer based, so that I don't have to shell out a lot of money for a business line or co-location. For obvious reasons, I don't want to put this on any sort of VPS or dedicated server or anything like that. Not even just because the code is questionable, but the property that it manages is definitely questionable. So I'm really just going to link all these all together, create a new file format, probably merge alpha rain in. So it'll be a combination of lidar, sonar, radar, lazy librarian, and alpha rain, with compatibility for Jacket so that it can serve up TOR-ZNABs as well. That way everything kind of gets streamlined into one little location, and I just ping this server and away it goes. The design of this is I want to have multiple API servers, so there will be one hosted here in-house for all of my servers to access. There will be one hosted in the cloud for public to access, and the database will be in the cloud. So all of these clients will connect, or all of these APIs will connect to the database and retrieve its contents from there, so that I can do failover IP configurations and round-robin surveying and all sorts of things like that. And all of my processes don't bog down the public, and the public don't bog down me. This all should be GPL v3, or maybe even v2. I haven't quite decided yet. Just the code, though. The data won't be free. Well, some of it will be, obviously. MediaBrains, Google Books API caching that I do. I'm hoping to have my own album art thing that you can download. Games database that'll be open source. Other things like AcoustID. I can only really do caching on some of these, like in the Google Books API, because they don't let you download it. So you'll get partial scrapes from me, which you can choose to update later if you want through the configuration of this software. Aside from that, it's being written in Java, so it'll work on absolutely every system. I plan on having full support for any operating system and make the installation process quite easy. And then that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. TRG is kind of shifting away from being a bot company into being more of a media management and, copyright will be a big one, and mostly metadata, serving up metadata and determining file types and things like that. Eventually my other project, the Virus Total alternative, will make its way into here as well, so that all these files are scanned, so that you can have a better insight into what exactly you're downloading. Because obviously with the games database, I want to make sure that people aren't downloading and running viruses. Partially because I'd like there to be an automated setup system where verified files can be pre-set up. So if you want to play Warcraft 2 and you specify in this software that you want Warcraft 2, it'll pre-configure it with a DOS box for you, so you can just click play and away it'll go. But yeah, it's just a quick update. There's nothing really going on the server side yet. We're waiting for some funds to come in to be able to buy more parts, but as soon as those parts come in, there'll be a reconfiguration of all the servers downstairs, and I'll make a video about that. Thanks for watching.